Okay, now on to the third column in the toolkit. So this column here is additional communication tools that could be really useful for an AAC user. So we've got a link to About Me, which has lots and lots of sort of sentences that you can personalize so that someone can tell someone all about themselves, things that they like to do, what their name is, where they live, names of their friends. And there's additional space to add even more information there. And the reason that it's in the toolkit, because we also saw that earlier on when looking at the communication pathways, can I tell you something about me? Is because sometimes someone might have asked you a question. They might have said, "What's your name?" And rather than going through one of the pathways, can I tell you something about me? My name is, you can go to your toolkit straight away and tell someone that information. Or you might just want to volunteer that information without someone having asked you. So you can get to that really quickly in the toolkit, and you can see as well, there's the link to asking questions about the other person. So that's about me in the toolkit. The second part of this column is My AAC. And this section of Voco Chat is all based around the idea of a communication passport, which is something that is really commonly used. And it has lots of information about that person's communication, and it's a document that often will hopefully go with someone if they change settings, perhaps if they're in a care home and they change care home, or they're in a school and they change school. This communication pathway with all that information in can go with them. And what we've done with Voco Chat is found a way to integrate all of the information that would be in a communication passport into the grid set. So if I go to my AAC, it gives the user the opportunity to talk about their own communication rather than relying on a document to have all of that information in, or relying on someone else to talk about how they communicate. So the AAC user themselves has ownership of that information to say things like, this is my communication aid, I use this to talk, I need more time to write my message. And then we've got these sections here. So if I'm upset, and we've got some strategies here, and these are just suggestions, and it can all be personalized for the user. And we really strongly suggest that you do personalize the My AAC section to make it really valuable. But having information about what to do if that person's upset, information about how that person communicates, do they use any signs, do they use vocalizations to mean specific words, what are they working on developing in their communication? And then ways that you could help that person communicate. So using their device to talk to them. We know that that's a really helpful AAC strategy, giving them lots of time, tell me one thing at a time. But again, you can really personalize this section. We've also got space to add important information about that person. So they might have something they really need people to know. They might also want to include information about things they like. So it might be to talk about, or things that they don't like, and things they don't like talking about. And then a way of indicating, this is how I say yes non-verbally, and this is how I say no. So they can share that information with people who might not be familiar with them. And again, lots of space to personalize. So that's my AAC. And then the final cell in this column is my health. So if we go there, we'll see that, again, this is one of those grids that needs to be personalized, because people's health is a very personal thing. It's going to vary lots from person to person. But we've also got links to my diet. So if someone has a modified diet, you can put all of that information in there. If they have any allergies, you can put that information here.
And I think those two areas are just a really lovely way to promote self-advocacy for AAC users, and to allow them to take ownership over those areas of their lives, which are sometimes not, that if they don't have access to that vocabulary, they're not able to join in and direct those areas of their lives. So just really useful to have that included. The final column in the toolkit is lots of useful things that you can use alongside your main communications. So we have access to some of our apps We have access to the Emoji feature, which is a lovely non-language based way of communicating your feelings about different things. So all of those are included there. We have access to apps like Alexa, which allows you to control smart speakers using the commands there. And then we've got access to things like camera, photos, calculator, etc. In the bottom right-hand space there that Daisy's indicating, if you have environmental control set up on your device, there will be a jump there to grids that allow you to, for example, turn the lights on and off or control the television using your grid set. So that can be a really nice area to encourage people to practice their access method and to practice using their device in different ways.
And some of these things can be really, really motivating, particularly to someone who is new to AAC. And perhaps the rest of the vocabulary might be quite overwhelming. And to start with, just showing them that there's a camera or that they can or use some emoji can be a really nice way in. And environment controller as well can be really motivating way to start AAC. So we've got all of these included here.
We've also included some keyboards with Voco Chat, so thinking about individuals who may have some literacy or maybe developing some early literacy skills, they can come here to explore those skills and to start spelling out words. So the default keyboard is a 2-hit keyboard, which means that you select the group of letters that you want, you select the the letter that you want, and then you jump back to this home grid where you can either choose from the prediction cells that appear in the second column, or you can go on to select the next letter in the same way. We have links to numbers, punctuation, and some other functions there. And we also have links to other keyboards. So for some people, QWERTY may be the most familiar layout. It is a very different cell count, so it's worth keeping that in mind. If you're using Voco Chat for access reasons, this may not be the layout for you, but as I said, for some users, it may be the most familiar and they may have those access skills needed. And there's also a switch frequency layout. So here the letters are arranged by frequency that they appear in words. So the most used letters are in the top left-hand corner. And you also have the prediction cells to support with spelling out words on this keyboard. And the final cell in our toolkit is access to device settings. So we have options to actually control your device settings, such as setting your volume or making changes to your access method. But we also have some messages about about settings on your device. So you could come here and say, for example, it's too loud, and then perhaps someone can model to you how you can use the volume jump to change your volume, or it's too fast, it's too slow. In the
And
space,
if I
yeah.
Sorry, if I just turn on eye gaze access as well, then we'll be able to see a couple of extra things which are currently hidden. There we go.
So as Daisy said, if you have an eye gaze device attached, that top corner in the top right hand corner, just below rest, you'll see that blank cell there is actually an eye gaze monitor. So you'll actually see the tracking avatar, and the eye gaze settings are via the eye gaze jump here, which will allow you to to do things like recalibrate or change your dwell speed. If we jump to more, there's a few other options here, a few other messages about device settings. And if you have a second screen, a device with a second screen, you'll see some messages about your second screen as well. And then there's the option to change vocabulary here. So if you select that jump, it will take you back to the start screen, which allows you to choose between child and teen and adult vocabularies. If you don't want a user to have access to that, you could always hide that cell. That's easily done. But we wanted to include it for anyone who did want to be able to jump between the vocabularies. It's worth saying that the settings grid can also be accessed via the something is wrong communication pathway. So if you say something is wrong with my device, that takes you to the same place. So again, you've got those messages about what's wrong, but you also have ways that you can change things about your device if you're able to do that.